Well, Saudi Arabia says it supports the moves by Spain, Norway and Ireland and has urged other UN member states to follow suit. This is the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, says he fears Israel will reject a normalization deal with Saudi Arabia if it is conditional on the creation of a Palestinian state. Well, for more on all of that, we're joined by Asher Fredman, Director for Israel at the Abraham Accords Peace Institute and the Misgav Institute for National Security. Thank you for being with us, Asher. So instead of normalising ties with Israel, which of course we were all waiting for back in pre-October 7th days, is Saudi Arabia about to in fact unilaterally recognise a Palestinian state?
Saudi Arabia already recognizes a Palestinian state. The question is whether this grand bargain that President Biden wants to put on the table, whereby Israel ends the war in Gaza, leaves Hamas in power, recognizes a pathway to a Palestinian state. The Hamas, in return for victory, releases some of the hostages. Saudi Arabia goes to some form of normalization. President Biden gets a diplomatic victory, gets quiet before the elections, perhaps gets a decrease in oil prices before the elections. The question is Israel going to go for this grand bargain?
Well, I mean, is this the result of the Biden administration's approach to Saudi Arabia from the beginning?
The Biden administration's approach to Saudi Arabia from the beginning was quite negative. And now when the Biden administration is turning to Israel and saying, look, if you don't recognize the Palestinian state, if you don't let Hamas survive and remain in power in Gaza, we're going to go ahead with this bilateral agreement with Saudi Arabia. In any case, it's very, very difficult to believe what is the U.S. interest in entering a defense pact with Saudi Arabia if you don't have this component of ending the war and a Palestinian state and a realignment of the Middle East. Really, the only benefit would be lowering oil prices before the elections. So I personally find it hard to believe that the Biden administration would go for a purely bilateral defense agreement, defense pact with Saudi Arabia, without Israel being part of the story.
Has Riyadh decided that normalization with Israel is just not worth the trouble?
Riyadh does have to take into account the highly negative public opinion. That's a fact in the Arab world. The Arab media is still very highly negative. On the other hand, Riyadh has quite a lot of interests, from security to economic to innovation, in normalizing with Israel and, of course, for regional stability. The question is, can Riyadh get a better deal now or wait until after the American elections? Whoever wins, whether it's President Biden or former President Trump, I believe they could get a much better deal in such a case.
Do you think that a change in the White House could change the situation in the region? President
Trump demonstrated his willingness to invest in regional normalization, in the expansion of regional cooperation of the Abraham Accords. Now, to be honest, to be perfectly fair, President Biden as well has supported the Abraham Accords, but President Biden and his administration have over and over again tried to insert the Palestinian issue back into the discourse, which of course is a way of slowing things down and making them less likely to happen. So it is possible President Trump succeeded 4 times in forging peace between Israel and Arab states. There's a good chance that he could do it again.
Asher Fredman, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Good evening.